Just to give you a quick heads up, this is a sad story. A very alarming situation has unfolded in Jackson, Mississippi, where 215 bodies have been discovered buried in unmarked graves behind a state jail. And what makes the situation even worse is the fact that the families of the deceased were left in the dark until last month. Some grave sites were only identified by a number and a metal rod, raising concerns about the lack of transparency and respect when handling the dead. The attorneys for the families of the deceased are calling for a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding these unmarked graves. The revelation began with Dexter Wade's death in March of 2023, in which a police officer fatally hit him. Shockingly, his family was not informed of his death, and he was buried without their knowledge. Attorney Ben Crump sheds light on the distressing details. Wade's case took a disturbing turn when it was revealed that he had identification on him. His identification was given to the lead detective by the medical examiner. However, the detective claimed to have called without receiving an answer and took no further action. He would continue, "The situation in Mississippi is deeply troubling, with 6 additional bodies now discovered in similar unmarked graves." Activist Arthur Silky Slim Reed described the grim scene at the burial site, where buzzards flew overhead. The bodies were placed in shallow graves without embalming fluid, leading to a disturbing stench that attracted scavengers. He then emphasizes the inhumanity of such treatment and calls for a more dignified handling of the deceased. The families affected were not notified, and many still believe their loved ones were missing. Reed then emphasized that this issue extends beyond race, as both white and black people are buried in the same manner. The lack of identification and the practice of assigning only numbers to the graves further compounds the anguish of the families involved. Despite the alarming nature of these revelations, a humane resolution is needed. In Dexter Wade's case, numerous civil rights were violated. These included failing to notify the family and burying him without permission, despite knowing his identity. Reed expresses deep concern about the actions taken by the authorities, and they plan on pursuing a lawsuit involving the police.
And you should know that Miss Bettison is the named plaintiff in a lawsuit against the Jackson Police Department because they killed her brother 3 years earlier. She went through 2 criminal trials, had several press conferences. So when they called her house, if they did call her house like they claimed, they knew where she lived. They knew how to get in contact with her if they really wanted to notify her that her son Dexter had been hit by a police car. So it is very suspicious that they would just bury him in a pauper's grave because they said they could not identify his next of kin. Miss Bettison does not accept it, and because of her tenacity, it has exposed all of these loved ones being dropped in a hole in a bag behind a Mississippi jail.
And the plot thickens. It could definitely be seen as some retaliatory measure against her for speaking out against the police for killing her brother. The police were probably like, oh shit, she's already suing us for killing her brother, and now we just killed her son, so we have to cover this up. But make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember, if it's more interesting, you can find it here.
Do an investigation to make sure that each and every one of these citizens, disproportionately black citizens whose lives matter, will be identified, their families notified, and them given a proper funeral.